Hello, hello. It's Tom again. Greetings to all of you. It's awesome to have you, and it's great to be back. Hello, chat. I'm Tom. I run games from time to time, and in other times I'm writing them, and then I make a lot of thoughts about, or have a lot of thoughts about running games, and then I talk a lot about them. And today you have the excellent chance to join me on talking about games. I hope some of you will be in the chat and then we can have a fun conversation. I very much enjoyed the one from last time. And yeah, I'm looking forward to have a great time with you again. Aside of ramblings, where might you know me from? I wrote the GM chapter of Monster Kingdoms, and I am writing more stuff for Monster Kingdoms, and yeah, I'm happy to be here, and today I'm not going to start with stage fright. That was actually a pretty good opener for last time, and I am happy to report it's getting better. I'm not as a nervous wreck as with the premiere of this program, but I am still kind of nervous and need to find my bearings a bit. Yeah. Where to start? That's actually a clever question to myself, because as I am writing scenarios, for example, for a convention that's coming up, I have to prepare them. And for this, I was thinking about, well, how to actually write a scene that gives everybody something to do. For myself, I can say that my scenes are quite long. So within 1 3-hour session, you will have probably like 3, 4 scenes at max. And so if you cut away the banter and the aftercare after the session itself, you're with like 2.5 hours of game time. There's actually a break in there, so reduce it even more. Looking at 2 hours and maybe 15 minutes, and that's 3 scenes. So we are looking at 40 minutes per scene, roundabout. And what happens in these scenes? Well, hopefully a lot of role playing, but for this you need like a prompt for the players to actually role play, and ideally something to do for everyone. When I am preparing adventures that are to be broadcasted, like on stream, I go more into preparation. And than I do for my home games or usual games that are continuous. There are several reasons for that. If we are looking at a streamed game that wants to introduce the player characters to the audience, I want to show them in their competence. I want to show them how they behave in a maybe exciting scene, or how their daily life looks like, something that's more characterizing them than you meet at a bar. How does everybody look? And so this is why there needs to be something to do for every character. And then if you have like 3 scenes for a session, you don't want somebody to feel bored during this time. And so you need, yeah, a riddle to solve for them, something to roll. And I was thinking maybe we should create such a scene together, or at least we are going to I'm gonna set one up and see if anybody wants to chime in on this. Let's head over. This didn't work. Something broke. Amazing. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Repairing stuff on stream. Yay! There we go. And ta-da! There we go. Okay. I have a slight delay between my studio screen and the chat and all, but we will manage. Okay. So maybe we need like a group of adventurers and a game probably first, for which we're going to use this. So let's assume I want to run a game of Curseborn. Which is very fitting since as of yesterday, the PDF and print-on-demand versions are finally available for purchase over DriveThruRPG. So that's a very cool thing. And you can rate and review them, which is also awesome. Okay. Let's imagine we have a party of 3, which makes it a little bit easier to keep track of everything that's going on. So we have a group of 3 player characters. Number 1 is Winnie the Hungry. The second one is Maisel the Dead. And third one, who might be the third one? Grim the Sorcerer. Okay. These are our characters, and if we go by stereotypes a little bit, all of these can be very different, can fulfill very different roles within a party, but we're just gonna say our Hungry is our muscle, Maisel the Dead is our social or our face, and then Grim the Sorcerer. What just go pling? What plinged here? Something did. I don't know. It went away. Okay. Things to be less distracted by in the future. Sudden pinging. And Grim the Sorcerer is our brains. Okay, we have those covered. We might add a bit about them soon. Okay, and let's start maybe with an starting scene, the opener, which doesn't need to be too long. We need to establish a few things, like what are the stakes, maybe a little bit about what's going on, what is the inciting incident. Yeah, and I'm gonna use a bit of cool theory that I learned from The Fifth Conspiracy by Stephen Kuntz, which is also an urban horror RPG or a urban fantasy RPG. You can turn it definitely into horror, but you can turn it also into other things. And there is some very cool advice in there for narrative structure and how to tie in characters into the story. That's super cool, but a little bit too much for our needs right now, because we want to create one scene. Okay. What is actually going on? I mean, the the trope that I employed myself very often and is also often used is people are disappearing, or there was a murder. But maybe maybe we go for something different. And I think I want to start with a scene that isn't action oriented, but more investigatory. Let's go with a break-in. Okay. Doop 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 doop. What happened? Or inciting event is a break-in. And something I enjoy a lot, and which also creates more interest and engagement with the players, is to make these events personal, tie the narrative to the characters. So let's say the break-in was into the now I'm gonna go for a stereotype. Break-in in the magic shop of Grimm's mentor. And that's what we are investigating and how the characters got into the entire story. Okay. So it's pretty easy to imagine. The mentor calls Grimm, "Look, Grimm, there's something strange happening at my place. Somebody broke through my magical protection, and I need your help to figure out what's going on, and bring your friends." And yeah, so Grimm calls his friends and they arrive at the magic shop. So it's maybe a little bit cheesy to have like this shop where you can buy stage magician tools and gimmicks and the like, and then hiding real occult stuff beneath the counter. But here we are. A few quick decisions are needed to keep things going. Okay. So we already have Grimm connected to the story, and his friends are just muscled in. But now investigation starts, and we need something to do for everyone. So the easy thing would be for Grimm. Let's make Grimm blue. Okay. Things to do. Whoopsala. Okay. These are things that Grimm can do. First is checking the magical defenses. There might be clues. There might be clues how they have been broken. Have they been circumvented? What happened there? About how they were broken. Okay, what's the second thing to do? Taking stock of what's missing. Checking inventory. Is there a third thing that Grimm could be doing at this point? Maybe we will come up with something in a minute. Okay, let's make our friend Maisel green. And I think it's still kind of obvious what Maisel can do. One of the first things that come to mind is finding and talking to witnesses. Another thing might be actually talking to the mentor, which would reasonably be the job of Grimm, since they have the personal connection, but maybe Grimm is like a very brainy person, as he already established, and instead of getting or talking about feelings and the like, or calming down the mentor, he is more about immediate investigation. And Maisel is just the better person to talk with the mentor, calming them down, and maybe find something about the enemies that the mentor was or has, or anything they investigated recently. These are things that Maisel could probably find out with a little bit more competence in talking to people. Is there anything else that our stereotypical face character might be doing? I mean, that's already pretty good. Maybe we find more. And then we have our muscle, Winnie. And This is the tricky part. Because Winnie's player wants to play the game. But if we think about investigatory scenes, things get difficult for these characters. Oh, there's a comment. There's somebody saying something. Hi, Travis. Congrats to your amazing streak. Yeah, you hear a lot, apparently. Welcome, welcome. Okay. How do you involve a physically leaning character into an investigatory scene? By creating physical complications. One of the things, and this is where our creativity starts to go zoom, is the the break and left traces. So actually, no, this is a very easy one. Picking up traces or tracks, going for smell and the like. You know, your vampires. There might be something that Winnie could do, but I find this a little bit boring. So, something that also happened during the break-in is that the wall got torn open and some of the piping in there is damaged. And so there's right now water coming out of the wall and somebody needs to fix it. And what the mentor can't use right now is like handyman and police crawling across his crime scene and asking a lot of stupid questions. So he'd rather have Winnie trying to stop the water flow than to get any mortals involved into the scene. So repair damages or damage control. This is something great. I think the player is gonna have a lot of fun with that. And then another thing that you could do is hide leads and evidence behind physical barriers. Something I had a lot of fun in doing in one of my Versen mysteries was to put the key item into a giant trash container. And whilst the time was ticking down, the characters were on a literal countdown. They had to look for this book which contained all the important information that the brainy characters could use. But it was actually in this large construction garbage skip. And one of the construction workers at the place remembered, yeah, they had this book and they just threw it away with the other crap. And so the characters know it's in there and they have to get it out on time. So we are hiding important leads behind debris and broken down shelves that were destroyed by the intruder here. Clear debris and let's go with rubble. Clear rubble and white leads this way. Okay, And now our party of 3 is very well entertained. And the big question is, first off, what kind of roles are they going to do? I'm very lenient towards whatever the player suggests for these introduction scenes. Like, let's show them competent, and then I'm gonna ask. They basically determine the skill, and then I'm gonna ask, what is your approach? How do you do this? And based on the description and how they are going about the things, I decide on the attribute. Is it something they're more thinking through? Are they making a mental map, or use a flip chart to figure things out? Then it's in my world, it's more intellect. Or are they going by the guts? Are they vibing the situation? Or rely on their instincts? Then it would be more wits. And if they're just taking a freaking long time and consider any and every opportunity, then it's probably resolved because they need to stay long. Or stamina, actually. It's fun to play with attributes and approaches. Okay, so this is our setup for the first scene. And now, ideally, we know what the players need to learn in this scene. So there should be a lead, and the players need this lead no matter what they do, and no matter how well they roll, to continue the story. So we need a lead, and that lead is a specialist who knows about what kind of intruder this might have been, and the characters need to find that person, and so they need to have him. Yeah, they need to get the idea. So our lead is a hint to a hint about who to ask for further information. So this is the thing that they definitely need to get. And then we need like a few pieces of evidence, so they get an idea of, or first ideas of what they might be dealing with. This is like there are traces of supernatural strength. Supernatural strength marks. And all items that were stolen were red. I don't know why yet, but this is just a quirk that came to my mind. It's, I don't know, more stuff. We need to figure. We don't need to figure all of this out to go for the example. And what I like to do is to not tie this evidence to specific things to do, but instead have this as floating ideas. And these are the things to do. These are 7 things. These are the 7 things that I came up with, and not necessarily what my players come up with. So they might have their own ideas, which are probably more fun than mine. And I can't rely on them thinking about all the things that I made up. So if they each decide to do one of these actions, maybe also Grimm is talking to the mentor. So we can't rely on our forecast of what they do. I have this information, this evidence at the ready, and can hand it out, not depending on what they have done as a investigatory action. Because learning that all items that were stolen might come through checking the inventory or talking to the mentor, or by finding a trail of red things leading out of the place, which would be a very interesting choice to make. But hey, here we are. Maybe there was like a Hansel and Gretel kind of character who stole a bunch of shit and left a trail of breadcrumbs. Okay, and this is basically our first scene. Cool. Okay. I'm gonna save this one. Yeah. Save this. Spontaneous curse born scenario. And then we're gonna head into our second scene. Scene 2. And that's our mainly social focused scene. Okay. Once again, we have our 3 characters. First one was Winnie. Second one was Maisel. Third one was Graham. Okay. Hungry. Dead. And sorcerer. Okay. Okay. I already forgot the template that we set up for the first scene, so I'm just gonna go with something entirely new. Okay. It was the inciting incident or event that we started with. Let's go with goal of the scene. Learn about the thief. Okay. And now we know we are looking for the specialist, and if this is our second scene and we want to make it a social scene, there should be some stakes included. There should be something happening. This shouldn't be easy to begin with. So let's make up an interesting scene. this is the scene for Maisel to shine. So we are our specialist. What happened? I didn't pick the right thing. Our specialist is a let's go stereotypical necromancer, and there is not much love between Maisel and the necromancer. Let's call him or her Brienne. Okay, Brienne is a necromancer, and she, for some reason, knows about this creature. And our first complication in this situation is that Maisel, who would be the perfect person to talk with a specialist and learn about the necessary secrets, has beef with Brienne. What's the beef about? It's beef with Maisel. This person captured a specter that Maisel was very fond of, because she caught a specter that Maisel, that M liked. Okay. And as revenge, what did Maisel do to piss off Brienne? Let's keep it easy. Maisel got back on her and ruined a deal. Perfect. Okay. So they are angry at each other. And we already have a situation where dice have to be rolled. We don't just have characters meeting and exchanging information because it makes sense. Once again, we need things to do for our characters. And we decided that Maisel would be green. Things to do. This is why we're here. So the thing is that Maisel usually would be the door opener, but there is a guard in front of the building in which Brienne lives, or is right now doing her things. So the door is closed and Maisel can't just go in there. She has to find a way. The first idea would be bribe the guard and be very convincing. But I think this is actually something that all characters can chime in on. Grim might be able, as he is a sorcerer, solve a problem for the guard. And by this, gaining access. Can I? Ah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. And then Winnie. This is not very elegant, but might intimidate or wrestle or make a promise to the guard to open the way. Okay. Already 3 options for 3 characters. Awesome. Great. Let's continue with our good old Maisel. The first thing that's probably gonna happen after they made their way in is meeting Brienne. Brienne is not happy to meet the crew and is probably about to kick them out unless Maisel can negotiate and calm down the situation. So negotiations have to happen. Negotiations happen. Okay. And this could be the entire scene. Maisel talks with Brienne. They find some kind of solution, how they can work together to deal with the problems, and at the same time the crew gets the information they want. But this would mean that Maisel's player would take up the large parts of the scene, and this is scene 2 out of 3. That's not enough. Okay, what can Grim do in this situation to help? Grim can have a look at the scenery, at the room, and take context clues from the paintings on the walls, the kind of objects that Brienne surrounds herself with. Reading the room for context clues and hints on what kind of problem Brienne is currently facing. Because Maisel might be going in without a plan. All she knows is that that Brienne is the person to talk to, and just guesses, well, we will wing it. And luckily she got Grim with her, who can read the scene. Something else, Brienne is a sorcerer, so Grim can bring in knowledge about Brienne's family political situation. This might be very helpful. Okay. Is there anything else that Grim can do in such a scene? I am not entirely sure yet. Maybe. let's kick on. Okay. And then we have Winnie. I mean, if things go sour, Winnie can be Maisel's wing person and just look intimidating. But this is not actually like really interesting character play. There is or things to do. This is probably just giving enhancements via the bond that Winnie and Maisel have. There should be something more interesting going on. Okay. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like in all video game RPGs where people have a problem like rats in the cellar or a heavy object that must be lifted and carried away and stuff like this, just physical labor tasks that we could all put in here, which could be interesting, or more or less interesting. But maybe Winnie has other interesting skills that might be helpful for a physically inclined character. It would make sense for them to have a to have dots in pilot. That's the word I was looking for. And so it would be actually cool if part of the deal with Brienne would be that Winnie is gonna drive in a car race. Drives for Brienne in a car race. And as we are talking about this, maybe the talking situation goes on too long and we need to step up things. This is something that you can do to heighten the action and tension and give more information about what's going on by having the thief now do something that has an effect on this situation. Maybe they are afraid that Brienne can tell important information about them, and they overreact and just throw a grenade or a Molotov cocktail into Brienne's place, and Winnie must saves the party or the crew plus Brienne from an explosion. Because why not an explosion? Or the earth shakes because whatever the thief is currently doing is having an effect on its on the surroundings. Okay. In the end, we need a Whoops, that was wrong. This is blue. Boop. Okay. We need our next lead. Lead is information about the thief, and their location. And then informations that can be learned, or let's go with evidence once again. Evidence. A weakness of the thief. A description of the thief. You get the idea. Just call. So basically, what kind of creature are they? Are they unique? Are they a member of one of the families? Is there is the kind of creature common in this area? Yeah. And I mean, the location has to be in the lead, otherwise our characters or our players will be stuck. Let's see. What else is interesting? What could we handle? Oh, this is actually something not about the quest or the story with the thief, but about Brienne, because we already have a conflict between the group and Brienne, and maybe a bad bargain, a compromise had to be found. The group had to do something that they don't like, but maybe they learn a secret about Brienne that can come up later in game as we meet them again. I think that's fine. We get the idea. Okay. And then we're gonna save this. Part 2. Save. Okay. And then we are in scene 3. Since this is a one-shot, we have to, as we Germans say, make Nägel mit Köpfen. Find an end. So, scene 3. And this is our physical encounter. Because it turns out the thief doesn't want to get caught. So our goal is catch and, or let's just say secure the thief. And since I still don't have an idea of who the thief is and what they do, I stay a little bit generic. Okay. Our first character is called Winnie. Our second character is called Maisel, and she is dead. The third character is Grim. He is a sorcerer. And Winnie, they are a hungry person. Awesome. Okay. Maybe we're gonna create a location next time. So I'm gonna think about that. Not too much right now. Beep, doop, 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 doop. Okay. I mean, the things to do are extremely varied. Just marking the characters once again, so we don't get whoopsala. So we don't get confused by the colors. Okay. I mean, the obvious choice for Winnie is racing the thief. Second option is fighting the thief. These are cool things to do, and they are always fun. So, and they are very obvious. We might want to, and I think at this point, all these characters are probably legible for the next few things that we come up with. Because they're all the different approaches on how to achieve this. For example, blocking the path or locking the thief in. Either with real steel doors, because we already learned that that the thief can tear open walls. But a very sturdy door might help, and you can use, and you can maybe one of them got a few points in larceny. So that would be an option for all of them. Or when you could push something heavy into the way. When you can boost their strength to an insane degree with undead strength. So that's cool. They can basically park a car in front of the exits. What else is there? Okay. Blocking the path. Find and use useful features of the scene. This can be area effects that are only in a certain area, and you want to lure the the thief over there, because if you know about it, you can turn it to your advantage, basically. This is something very helpful. And then I'm thinking of something that is actually cool for Grim. Something that's probably not necessarily in the Curseborn rules, but I like for my magically inclined characters, especially sorcerers. But in the end, if you have like a dead or a hungry who are also leaning very much into the mystic arts, high esoterica scores, then I let them fuck around with magic. There is a spell in place that's not in the rules or basically a dread power, then lets them interact with them. So basically hack the local magic effects. Hacking is a cool idea because we established that Grimm is our brainy character. They might be good in technology, so there might be heavy machinery use heavy machinery. This is something that I took away from my Coriolis campaign. When I asked my players what they liked the best, it was it was the scene that I improvised. And the reason they said why it was the best, because they all had the feeling that they could contribute something to a combat, and only one of the 4 characters is really a combat character, and the other 3 were just fucking around. One of them was the medic or the doctor who was applying placebos to his friends to keep them going. Another one was cutting the things on which the space reactor was hanging to stop the entire thing. And of course, one of them was fighting against a horde of enemies, and our pilot mechanic character hacked the machinery in the background to power down said reactor and to gain information. So this is also something that Grimm could do, is seek more information from computers, reading material, which ideally is endangered by, I don't know, fire, for example, to put some pressure on, or find the linchpin. I'm not entirely sure how to write this. Linchpin for the situation, like, yeah, the ultimate weakness of the thief, or if it's a magical creature, an outsider, the crucial information about how to get rid of them. And basically stop whatever was started by the thief, because they probably got like a magical ritual going. So this is a lot what our brainy character can do. Some of these things might also be done by our socially inclined character. I have so much more to talk about. God. Okay. Let's open the next box, because we have more things. And let's look into what Maisel can do. I mean, Maisel can do the Maisel thing and face around and try to distract the thief, or have another round of negotiations. This helps. Something we didn't talk about at any point is that all of these characters have contacts, and Maisie probably would have a contact for every problem they are facing. So Maisie could bring in backup and coordinate the backup. There might be witnesses that need to be taken care of and probably not killed, but yeah, gently pushed away. Deal with witnesses. There might be a person in there who has been harmed or endangered by the thief, so Maisel can rescue someone. What else can Maisel do? Once again, a thing that I love to do is have psychic attacks affect the players, catch them in a flashback. If the group agreed on PvP is allowed under certain rules, Story Path Ultra always has the option that a player can say no to being affected by another power, and the character who used that power gains a +2 enhancement on the next action against the player character, which is a nice deal, I think. So I like to have situations where somebody is hallucinating and starts to work against their crew, and Maisel would be the perfect candidate to either be the troublemaker or to get somebody out of a dark place. Maybe the thief has like emotion control abilities and they need to be broken by a good friend, like Maisel would be. And then there is interact with whatever. Oh wait, this is not green. This should be black, because that's something that the entire party should be doing. Interact with the scene. So for all these things to be done, we need to have the scene set up to incorporate witnesses, to incorporate somebody who needs to be rescued, to have computers, to have information in some way that can be found. So we need to put these things into the scene, and by deciding on what kind of area effects we put into the scene, we give everybody something to do, because maybe 16 is a little bit unnecessary. I'm gonna keep it, but the important part might be use the power of friendship. Oh, come on. helping each other out, overcoming enemy advantages, um, working together, setting up your action with my action. Um, this is all an option that you can use during all scenes. And there was actually a point I wanted to make about this. Doop brain work. Oh no, it went away. I gonna remember it as soon as I hit the stop streaming button. This can't be real. Yup-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop. It's entirely gone. I don't know why. If you put, oh yeah, that might be the thing. Endanger player characters, not the players, the characters. And if you do so, if you put them into a hard spot, give their friends choices to make. Grim, do you continue reading your magical scroll that will probably unfuck the situation, or are you going to save Maisel, who's about to be thrown from a rooftop? Because you are the person with the levitation spell. Is Winnie going to deliver the knockout blow, or are they going to save the magical scroll that Grim needs to find find important information about their past? There might be there are a lot of options, and these choices, even though they might seem obvious how the players will decide, they give meaning to their actions, and they make these scenes dramatic and fun and interesting. Something I did during a Curseborn game during a convention was one of the characters was often calling or was using their contact to get information about the location that they were visiting. And because they rolled one or two very bad dice rolls, including curse dice, this led to that contact actually showing up in the location. And of course, it happened at the worst time, as the player characters were in a liminality. And the contact took the elevator and drove into the liminality and was there with them. And at the same time, the hungry of the group was starving. They were reaching their damnation. And so I think this was the sorcerer's contact, but in the end, our Get of Leica primal stood in between the hungry who tried to eat the human contact and the human contact, and I think they fell also into damnation. And we almost had an entire throwdown about this human and the hunger of the hungry and the primal trying to protect someone innocent, and people got hurt, but yeah, the power of friendship persevered, and we hashed out how each of them came out of the out of the damnation and how hope reigned supreme in the end. It was very cool. It was very, very cool. And I immediately want to do this entire practice that we just did on another level, on how to make things more personal. And maybe we're gonna work on this very scenario next time again. It's already 1 hour and 20 minutes that I've been talking to myself and hopefully to a few of you. And I think we are at a good spot to stop for today. I'm not sure if it's going to happen next week already, or if we are the week afterwards. But something I had planned from the beginning, or as I was conceptualizing this amazingly deeply thought through program, was that since I wasn't sure if I was able to talk for an hour straight, that I wanted to have friends and guests over to work together on ideas and speak through story guiding and GMing topics together. So I don't know if it's next week or the week afterwards, or even the third week in line. We will see how things shape out. But I hope to be here with friends soon. So this is something that I look very much forward to. And yeah, I hope to catch all of you then too. Stay safe and have a good one. I think bye-bye. Oh, wait. Ha! There's currently something awesome going on. I remember sometimes how you do these shows. Currently, the Exalted Infernals Backer kit is running. It was the first time that I witnessed an Exalted crowdfunding campaign. It took 11 minutes to be to be funded, and they were comfortably sitting above the $100,000 mark, which is impressive. Congrats to the Exalted crowd. You are amazing. Yeah. So I'm Tom. I am a professional GM on Start Playing the Games. You can find me as Tom Murr, but all my groups are currently, or my tables are currently filled, so that might be a little bit difficult to join one of them at the moment, but I'm sure in the future there will be spots open. Yeah. I am also one of the mods over at Illusion and HorrorCon, and our convention is coming up on the first weekend of December, and our player signups are running right now. So if you want to play a few games for free, the entire con with all the amazing panels with incredible people is free. You don't have to buy any tickets. The only thing that you could pay money for is the raffle, where Onyx Path, Helmgas, Chaosium, and since of today, an amazing person who does custom dice are offering prizes, and the raffle or the donations go into charities like the Trevor Project, which is super cool. Yeah, but aside of that, I'm really looking forward to the con. Usually I'm on the panels there, but this year we have so many awesome people that I stepped down and said, you go, you have fun. There are some awesome people and colleagues from Onyx Path, but also the people from Helmgast and a lot of podcasters and freelancers, and yeah, it's going to be amazing. So first weekend of December over at the Illusion and Horror Con, and the link is going to be in chat any second now. But and yeah, I hope you have a good one. See you soon. And bye bye. Almost bye bye. Let's go to the pre-roll. I'm a professional.